Sigler. My husband hates that I don't introduce myself as Dr. Sigler. I am legally a doctor, but please call me Amy. I will ignore you if you call me Dr. Sigler. I will act like you don't exist. So I started LimbTech, which literally stands for Technology for Your Limbs. All of you right now are deathly scared I'm going to pick on you and put you in a wheelchair. I will not, but that's what I do. I go to trade shows, and the first thing people do is see my table, and they're like, oh, I'm not talking that way. So I do wheelchairs and accessibility. This is my logo. LimbTech. I'm good at this one. Okay. I started LimbTech in 2019, right before that thing. Hi, Alex. That's okay. I'm here. So it is technically owned and operated by my husband and I own more shares than he does, and I like to remind him of that. If I die, he has to call my staff to figure out how to check the email because he doesn't even know how to get into our email. So we serve Western North Carolina. That's where we started, but we have expanded, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. Okay, so we started in Western North Carolina in 2019. Then this thing, COVID-19, happened. Everybody remember that? Pandemic shut down the entire world. We kept going, and I blew up because I kept doing telehealth. How many of you have done telehealth? How many of you love telehealth? If you see me, I'm going to make you do telehealth. I'm going to make you fall in love with it because I'm not going to get dressed. This is the most dressed I get because a lot of times I put on a big comfy sweater and I get to work from home. It is wonderful. So then we expanded to South Carolina. There was a need. Here in Western North Carolina, it's taken a year to get a wheelchair. If you were diagnosed tomorrow with MS or ALS or a god-awful car accident and you had to wait 1 year to get a wheelchair, I know all of you are like, what? There are a lot of red tape with wheelchairs. You have to get an occupational physical therapist. You have to get a supplier. You have to get your doctor to sign off that they agree with my findings, which is crazy because I have a doctorate and they still have to argue with me whether they agree or not. Then we have to send this to that thing called insurance. How many of you have UHC? None of you? You do in the back. It is the worst health insurance when it comes to wheelchairs because they constantly fight me. They're going to tell me you don't need it because of X, Y, and Z. If you're a spinal cord patient, they're going to still tell me you don't need it because you don't need to move. So it's my job to prove that you need it, and UHC is the worst. So we expanded, and I turn around wheelchairs in 6 to 12 weeks. And do you know what stops that? Insurance. Okay? So it's not my team, it's the insurance. All those states are there because everybody started hearing about LimbTech. They started hearing that we could turn around paperwork super quickly. And how? I have changed the way we do healthcare. You go see your doctor's sitting on your computer asking, tell me about your weight, right? They're robots, they're not even looking at you, right? How many of you have felt that way from your healthcare provider, right? Clearly I'm shy and really reserved human being, right? So I can get to know you really quickly. I tell everybody it's the worst first date. I'm gonna ask you a ton of personal questions. I'm gonna ask you if you poop and pee yourself, just nicer. Are you incontinent bowel or bladder? And then I'm never gonna call you again. It's the worst first date you're going to be on, but you don't care because I'm going to turn your paperwork in today and you're going to get your wheelchair. That is how we have built relationships. So our name started spreading and people all the time call me, can you work in Alabama? Can you work in West Virginia? I am helping a company in Alaska, that's a big state way far, far away, that we're helping them build a complex rehab program. So we have revolutionized because if you need a wheelchair, do you want to wait 6 weeks to get it, or do you want to wait a year? 6 weeks, right? So we're in all these states, we are rapidly growing. I just can't handle the caseload that we have now, so I have to hire really, really good therapists who know what we're doing. You can go to the next slide. Okay, services, in-person or telehealth, we talked about that. We started with complex rehab, so big, heavy wheelchairs. If somebody in a wheelchair comes in, the first thing everybody does is they kind of back up. It's a little scary, right? You see all these seat functions, you see all these parts and pieces, and we don't really know what to think about it. Then we expanded to bathroom remodels, ramps, accessibility, anything you can think of. And again, that shy, reserved person that I am, I'm speaking at City Council in Hendersonville to make Henderson County a more accessible and aging-friendly community. Why? Because of advocacy. I was walking downtown one time, there's plants everywhere, it's beautiful, but it's not accessible. We have to make our communities more accessible, more inclusive. So that's what LimbTech does. And we do any type of wheelchair, DME. We did a pool lift this summer for a kid, and I have to prove that there's medical need. Okay, we all think pools are fun, but cardiovascular endurance, all of that. So if you need something, you call me and say, can you get it? And I'm going to try to get insurance to pay for it. How many of you have insurance? How many want to use your insurance if something happens? Right? So it's my job to prove that you need it. Okay, I am from Anchorage, Alaska. That's why we're expanding there. I grew up there. Yes, it is very cold. It is in the northern hemisphere, so yes, it's going into winter. It is dark most of this time of year. Everybody asks me the craziest questions, and no, there's no penguins. That covers all of the questions I always get. There are roads. So I grew up in Anchorage, Alaska. I went to Creighton University. Anybody here of Creighton? Yeah, it's in Omaha, Nebraska. I did the first distance pathway program. My entire doctorate was online. So I was made to do telehealth. You can learn a lot doing telehealth. Today, we could call China, right, and do a conference call. But ironically, Florida Medicaid will not let me do a teleconference call, and I have to fly to Florida for a 15-minute meeting to say my business is real, that they will give me Florida Medicaid. Explain that. Yeah, I don't know. So I have really expanded because of telehealth. And that's kind of where LimbTech was born. So I was working at a college here locally, and anybody working in higher education, because I don't want to offend you right now, there can be a lot of ethics, right? I was working in an OTA program, and I'm strict. You need to show up on time. You need to look presentable. Because I have 18 to 22-year-old kids who are learning a profession, and they look like they just crawled out of bed, they're showing up late, but now they're going to bill Medicare for a patient to help rehab them. Are you going to take that kid serious? So I was building professionals, and the school didn't like it. They thought I was too strict, too hard, creative differences. I don't know, what's the divorce thing? Disillusion because of differences. There were differences because they asked me to pass students that were blatantly failing. I'm not going to put people in my field that you're going to see if they're failing classes. I had wheelchair day, so what happened is Blaine Singleton, if you need anything accessibility, he's one of the greatest human beings ever, said, go start your business. He said, I need somebody who's like you who can start a business. I dabbled in wheelchairs. When I say dabbled, I did like 5 wheelchair vows in my entire career. He saw something in me. That night, I called my husband. I was driving down Mills Gap Road, and I said, let's start a business. And my husband, God love him. You know my husband. He is the most patient man. Right, Brett? You've met him. He's the complete opposite of me. He's like, all right, we can start a business. And that's what we did. And that's where LimbTech was born. There's not a lot of drama to it. I was stuck in a job that was tiresome. How many of you have been there? 8 to 5, corporate policies, horrible ethics, whatever you call it. That was me, showing up every day trying to push these students through ethics, and that's where LimbTech was born. And I've run with it. We started in one state, actually Western North Carolina. Then we went all of North Carolina, and now we're in 6 states. So this is the American dream. That night, I thought it was a napkin. I was wrong. I tell people wrong. Clearly, I can't get my story straight. We were laying in bed, and my husband did that logo. That is the original logo. We saved a picture, and who would have thought 3 years later that I would be standing here today with a business that has, I will say, successful, because I'm not working in corporate America. I work for myself. So if you want to complain, I'll give you my cell phone number. You can just call me. So how to start a business? I was just like you guys. I came to a 1 millionth cup. That's where I started. I started coming. I started meeting people. You know, I met Mountain Biz Works, all the people that you guys have met, AD Tech. They were like, you need to do a needs assessment. The need assessment was there. When Blaine came to me, he said, I need a therapist who can turn around wheelchairs faster, because my direct competitor is taking 3 to 6 months to turn back paperwork. I need somebody who can do it quicker. Younger therapists, and I don't mean younger as old and young, I mean somebody who's newer out with technology versus someone who's still doing paper. Like, I can do 6 to 8 patients a day where my competitor's seeing 2 to 3. That's a huge, vastly difference. So do a needs assessment. Is there a need for your business in this community? Outpatient physical therapists. Anybody an outpatient PT in here? They struggle in this community. For like every 1 PT office, there's 1 outpatient PT office. So it's like a 1-to-1 ratio. It's very hard to get referrals, and they struggle financially. Where me, I get 30 to 60 referrals a week. We're very busy. So do a needs assessment. What is the need in your community? Next one, a business plan. LimbTech was originally an orthotics and prosthetics company. God had a plan for us. We had started an O&P company, we had this whole business plan, and our business partner backed out. And I will never forget how horrible I felt. I was like, I'm gonna be stuck in corporate world forever, what's gonna happen? And then a couple weeks later, Blaine had come to the college, and I was like, I already have a business plan, and I have a name that works. Technology for Your Limbs works with orthotics and prosthetics and wheelchairs. It was meant to be. A budget. So for healthcare, Mountain BizWorks, anybody here from Mountain BizWorks? Okay, I also met with SCORE, and I saw somebody walk in here with SCORE. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for what you did for me. I met with you guys. But Mountain BizWorks literally said you're a healthcare business. You would have to take every patient, every insurance, and guess how much you're going to get paid. He's like, your budget is going to be so big that it's going to take you so much time that it's really not worth it for funding. He was like, you're going to have to do this on your own or go to a bank for financial. So for me, a budget didn't matter. So I did this off the ground without financial backing. Does that make sense? So if you guys, I always use coffee. You know you have to sell 100 coffees at $5 a pop, there's your budget. It's simple. But for me, we take every insurance. Every insurance. You name it, we take it. And so I would have to say, Alex's insurance with Medicare, I'm going to get paid $100. Christy's insurance with UHC, I'm going to get paid $70. Then you have to guess how many people. It's a lot of work. It wasn't worth it. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Control what you can. I couldn't control there was a pandemic. Show up, work hard, come to as many networking events. I pitched at 1 Million Cups 3 years ago. And I literally stood up here and said, I own a business you do not want to buy from. And this guy laughed and he's like, that was the greatest pitch. 3 years later at a chamber meeting, he goes, I will never forget you. I remember your pitch. I showed up at tons of networking events. I still go to tons of networking events, get involved with the chamber. I'm a mentor. I take a ton of students. I'm a mentor. Here today, I'm busy. I'm exhausted. I have twin 5-year-olds. You guys know what twin 5-year-olds are like? They're gremlins. Like, just get good eye concealer. That's why I don't look tired today. Okay? Show up, work hard. You can't control everything, but meeting people and shaking hands is super important. Network the heck. I have a rule of 3. It's a tree. When I met Alex and I met, and I said 3 things. You're going to give me a name of one person that's going to benefit my business. I'm going to give you a name that's going to benefit our business, and we're going to figure out a way to market each other. So that is my rule of 3. So every time you take a meeting, how can you help me? How can I help you? And let's do a marketing thing together. Marketing's free. Network the crap out of your area. Show up. Okay? Get involved. 1 Million Cups. I pitched here 3 years ago, and I'm here again today, and people remembered that. I think that's on the set. One more? That's my foundation. I'm probably out of time.
Tell us about your
Okay, so insurance is terrible. I don't get paid a lot, and I can't say no. Alex comes to me and says, I'm Medicaid over 21 in the state of North Carolina. Private therapy companies cannot see over the age of 21 for Medicaid. Don't get me started on the ethics and the laws there. I'm on the North Carolina OT board for advocacy, and I sit on the Medicaid board because I'm not quiet. We have to fight for things. So I started a foundation. The foundation is to be able to see patients in a pro bono clinic, so I can't say no. You can keep going. I can talk quick. We do bike day every year. This is bike day this year. We evaluated 10 kids. In the state of North Carolina, kids cannot get bikes paid for by insurance, so they have to go to a third party. I believe every flipping kid should get a bike. How many of you have kids? You want to tell your kid they don't get a bike? These bikes are $5,000. My goal in 2023 is to give 5 bikes away. That when your kid comes to me and says, I want a bike, I'm going to give them a bike. I don't want to have to write paperwork and fight a third party. That is the LimbTech Foundation. Our goal is 5 kids. These are kids from this year that we're writing letters from. Christy was there. You can keep going. So these are our goals. We're working on the bylaws. Right now we're working on a budget. The nonprofit effective survey from West North Carolina Pathways has been amazing, so we're working on that survey right now in all my free time. This is after work hours. I have a full caseload. I'm crazy. Don't ask me how I do it. You just do it. You get up and you do it. Grant writing. Anybody love writing grants? Come talk to me afterwards because I have no idea what I'm doing. So our 2023 goals. We're trying to do a pro bono clinic because I don't want to say no to people, and I do a lot of free work. A lot. Last Friday, I saw 3 Medicaid patients for free. I did not get paid, but they're going to get their wheelchair. We're trying to get money for ancillary grants, all those things that don't get paid for if you live in a skilled nursing facility. And then growth, name recognition. You don't have to remember who I am. That guy who remembered me from 1 Million Cups could not remember my name and he couldn't remember my business, but he knew I did wheelchairs. Last one. This is me. Please follow me on social media. That is how all of you can help us keep that algorithm going. Okay, that is really, because everybody's like, how can I help you? Follow me on social media. The more people that can see us, the better. I get 1 to 3 referrals a week just by social media and all over, states from all over, because parents with kids with disabilities, they talk.
All right, let's give a round of applause.
Good morning.
Hi.
Great presentation. Obviously, you're making a big impact. I wanted to ask a question though. You're doing so many things, like almost like a badge of honor about like how much you're doing. Is there a point in your business where you reach a scale that you have a bigger impact by focusing on doing 1 or 2 things?
Yes, that's a great question. So one thing I need to talk about here is I have a student population that works with me. I contract with students all over the country because they have to do their field works, and so we take students. My business would not be functional without them, and they all have projects. Those students are super loyal to the LimbTech brand. I don't say me, I say the LimbTech brand. So Bike Day, the students really were the bread and butter of putting it together. So I'm allowed to put my hands in everything. If we get the pro bono clinic up, I think things will be easier because then I can be in one building and focus on multiple different things. We really stick to accessibility. The foundation grew because I do so much free work that I've got to get paid. I don't know if that answers your question. I mean, we're not doing anything other than wheelchairs and accessibility, but I have a very loyal team that stands behind me and my brand, and those students always come work for me. Everybody that I've hired was a student of mine. So that is why I can do things very great, because they all take on different projects. Does that kind of answer your question? Like,
Yeah, it does. I wonder, like, it seems like you're going to continue growing. So I don't know if you can imagine which things are going to bottleneck your business first. You're not teaching anymore. Maybe you run out of students that have that loyalty.
So, again, name recognition on Facebook. There's Facebook and then all these schools across the country, they're like, you need to have your students go work with Amy in LimbTech. Telehealth is an emerging practice. I call it the LimbTech University. We have a whole student portal. I'm with them every day. It's very student-led business. So it's kind of us all learning together. I made a ton of videos. I'm hoping it doesn't get there. We're growing to the point where I've had to say no. We can't be in Alabama right now, and I can't be in West Virginia. Those are 2 states that desperately need us. Because I'm there. I need students to pass their board exam and come work for us, because training a therapist is very difficult and time-consuming that I don't have. And I can't see everybody.
Thank you. I think you're going to be very successful.
Oh, thank you.
Next question.
I won't put you in a wheelchair.
I think everyone's feeling shy today.
That was a great presentation.
Thank you.
How big is your workforce right now? I'm just curious about it. It sounds like you need to hire people in different states with the right credentials.
Yeah, so in occupational therapy, you have to be state licensed in every state. We have a compact right now that's supposed to be voted through. Don't we love legislation? I mean, they take forever. It's a 10-state, so if you're in those 10 states, you automatically get in. I have 7 employees. I have 2 admin, myself, another full-time OT. I just hired 2 more. And then I have 2 OTAs that work for me because in Henderson County, there was a pediatric clinic that shut down, and so we've taken on a pediatric caseload. I don't do anything with those patients. I have a team that does that. They're just billed and funneled through LimbTech because it's confusing. People are like, do you do wheelchairs? Do you do therapy? It's hard. I mean, we're 7 strong right now. The hard part to get paid is insurance. Like, we don't get to decide how much we get paid. I'm stuck with whatever insurance tells me. So right now we're 7 strong. I always say my team gets paid first. I get paid last. We're still trying to get contracts in place in all these states that we're fighting, like I was saying about Florida. We have to hire people, but because my name is on everything, I'm super particular. Like, they need to understand what I expect. Like, we turn around paperwork super quick, so we aren't expanding right this second because contracts and employees. We have open spots. Like, I want to be 7, 8 people deep every day, and so does my team. They don't want to work for anybody in corporate America, so there's spots available, but we have the referrals to meet that. It's the contracts with insurance.
Yeah, I've worked with doctor's offices. It's crazy.
Yeah, our insurance system is messed up. I could talk all day about that.
I have a comment and a question. Thank you for being, this is a really loud mic. Thank you for being creative and full of integrity as you lead your company. It's inspiring.
Thank you.
The question I have is, how do you source your wheelchairs, specifically wheelchairs? And, you know, it seems like you have a lot of, you know, you get the job done and help people with healthcare, and can that end supplier of wheelchairs help cut the cost a bit, or yeah, how does that whole system work?
This is a huge question, but I'm going to go real quick. So it's a triangle: patient, myself, and the supplier. The supplier is like a car salesman.
Yeah.
They are going to get paid a commission. It is my job to protect you and the insurance company. So I cannot recommend anything that it goes by dysfunction and diagnosis. So these suppliers are going to be like, we need this Maserati wheelchair, and I'm like, nope, we need this. Insurance only cares that it's in your house also. I'm an occupational therapist. I care about daily occupations, getting out, doing things with your family, community. So I kind of take all of that. Lawyers, where's my lawyer? There's a lawyer here. Yeah, you'd hate me because I walk patients right in the corner, exactly what I need. Like, I lead the witness, absolutely going to get exactly what I need out of them to put it on paper. The hard part is the supplier. They take forever to get paperwork. I am at their mercy. The other thing is getting things in. Things are coming from Canada, things are coming from Vietnam, things are coming from China. Alex is calling me. I had a lady call me yesterday screaming, and I had to back up. I'm the therapist. Your paperwork was done this day. You have to call the supplier. The demand is on them. Again, when I say build relationships, some of my best friends are my suppliers, so when I get a referral, I choose them. They're going to show up for my patient, be loyal to me. If the referral comes from the supplier, I'm stuck working with certain ATPs is what they're called. Not as ethical, take forever to do paperwork, patients are mad. So that is kind of, it's a big question, but I am going to turn my paperwork in today. Your supplier or your doctor, I tell people, because everybody's like, my doctor will do whatever I want. Then show up and make sure they sign the paperwork, because insurance only cares about my document and theirs. Yeah.
Amy, thank you for sharing your story, and congratulations on your success. One can imagine that as you build that success, you're getting attention from competitors and regulators, and can you describe some of the responses that you've seen?
Yes, this is an amazing question. I'm going to tread lightly here. There's a competitor here who's been over almost as long as I've been alive. She's been a PT. She's really great, but everywhere I turn around, she's slamming me right and left, and the only thing I can say is be kind. Like, I'm not going to slam her as a therapist, we just do things differently. And the comments that people keep coming back is saying, you're everywhere. She's not. So brand recognition. A lot of these older school therapists don't like telehealth. They think you need to put your hands on everybody. I can pick on every single one of you. The phone is ringing. I can pick on every one of you about your posture right now, right? Yeah, everybody sits up. So then it tells me you're flexible. I saw all of you walk in, so you're flexible. I can see that by just being a good therapist. I don't need to put my hands on. Be kind. I mean, I call Alex a lot and vent to him. Find somebody who will be your sounding board, because you don't want to sound your grievances on Facebook or to other people. You can't trust anybody. There are a lot of people, suppliers love me. I have increased all of their revenue. They only get paid when they deliver the wheelchair, and if I'm turning around paperwork today and they're not waiting for me, revenue goes up. I did $120,000 worth of wheelchairs in one day for ATP and put him in the top 3 in the country that month. He has been loyal to me ever since. Competitors are going to put a target on you for whatever reason. Just be kind. I've had to take adversity it hurts. I've cried because I'm like, I try to do good, like you said. Like I try to do a lot for the community, but you can't, the naysayers are gonna be out there. I kill them with kindness. One person said something about me and I bought her a cup. I sent her a gift card and said, thank you for being a great mentor. I mean, she's been super nice to me since, but again, I'm like, I hear things, but yeah.
So it's a numbers game for you, right? Because you only see the people like once.
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's a whole nother thing about that is I don't need to see you 47 times. I'm billing insurance. I'm really good at getting it done first time. The follow-up with the delivery has been kind of the thorn in the side. We want to be able to see people in the back end. There's a lot of times where I know your name, but I couldn't even put a face to it because we see such a volume. But I can tell you, like, Leslie King, she was the one who we saw this day, she was wearing this, remember she was doing this, and we're like, oh yeah. But I may not remember everything, but we're really good at name recognition in that sense because we see you a lot beforehand because of insurance. I only need to see you one time. It's insurance. If you had to see me 3 times, you're getting your insurance bill 3 times. Copays are astronomical. $40 for UHC is a common one. So now you're paying $120 in copays for $40. You'd rather see me. I'm saving you money, I'm saving your insurance money, and I'm speeding things up. Sometimes I'll see him more than once depending if I need to, depending on what's going on. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I have a quick question for you. First of all, I've known you for about 2 years, I actually met you at a festival that you hosted down in Guidon Brewery, which is awesome because you are very active in the Hendersonville community. And those of you who don't know her, y'all need to give her another shout out because she lost 35 pounds, y'all. Like, she looks great. She looks good doing this presentation. And 2 kids? Man, I'm telling you.
I got
3 kids, yeah, that's right. 2 twins, that's right. But one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, you know, you're very active in the community and in legislation. As business owners and as we increase revenues and as we try to have more influence with our revenues, what are some things that we should be conscious of when it comes down to legislation, particularly here in, you know, Western Carolina and the access to getting your services? What should we kind of know about or be more conscious to?
You gotta speak out. Medicaid is a mess. So Medicaid is great. It does help the underserved population, whether poverty or somebody who's got a lifelong disability, what have you. But they cut off at 21. If you have a child that's 22 years old, they can't be seen by a private therapy company. So now they're having to go into a seating clinic. So they have to get in with my competitor. Again, we've kind of talked about some of the differences of how we operate, not bad, just different. Go to Greenville or Charlotte. Those are long days. So that's a mess. I cannot legally, I can see them, I just don't get paid. So we need to fight Medicaid. We need to allow telehealth. Robbinsville, Franklin, way out there, nobody is driving out there. I got paid $68 to see a Medicaid patient. That is nothing. $68 doesn't cover my overhead. But I saw them because I wanted to see them. I care about the community, you know this, Alex. But I cannot drive 2 hours to see a patient in Robbinsville. You don't get paid for that drive time, and I cannot bill. Okay? So now I see the patient for an hour, I get paid $68, and I drive 2 hours back. So now I spent 5 hours with the patient, they get paid $68. We need to speak out against Medicaid. We need to stand up, we need to fight, we need to call our legislation and say this isn't fair. If you're over 21, you should have the same access rights as everybody else. Reimbursement is terrible. Medicaid called me and said, why are you the only private therapy company in North Carolina seeing Medicaid patients? Because I have a student program. I have students that see them. Because if I saw them, I wouldn't get paid. We wouldn't make any money. But I have a student program, so the students are learning, they're getting their fieldwork hours, we're meeting the needs of the community. But for advocacy, you gotta speak out. People don't know. There was a giant Facebook fight, because everything gets solved on Facebook. Some guy started this big fight about plants and accessibility, and of course I get tagged 1,000 times, and I'm very diplomatic. And somebody said, if your kid's in a wheelchair, they can drive down the road. My 5-year-old's loose is like gremlins running crazy. Now you give a kid a power motor wheelchair that's 6 miles an hour and you want them driving down the road. It's lack of awareness. It wasn't this person was being nefarious. The person actually told me to pack up and go back where I came from. That was how the whole thing ended. And he actually messaged me and apologized, and we had this great conversation. But that is how the accessibility with Henderson County came about. Because if you think a kid driving down the road is accessibility and inclusion, you're missing the point. Plants are beautiful, but 36 inches is all you have to have for ADA compliance. Just because it's 36 inches, I have a patient right now who's over 800 pounds. His wheelchair from rim to rim is 44 inches. He can't even get into his bathroom. So just because it's 36 inches doesn't mean that's all it should be. It's a lack of awareness. Get up, speak out. November 4th, I think is the date. I'm going to post all over social media. Come, stand behind me. That is how awareness comes. They told me the only way that city council will listen is if you have a backing. If it's just you, they're just going to think you're just another person screaming about Henderson County. Henderson County loves to shut down Main Street, and this is a big hot topic. You shut down all your handicap parking. Where do your people who have disabilities or can't walk or can't get to downtown, how do they enjoy festivals? Your retirees are what bring money to our community. So.
All right, we have time for one more question.
Hey, thank you for your presentation. I really appreciate your passion and your energy. So my question is maybe too far, but it's nuanced towards my own experiences with medical devices, which is very limited.
That's okay.
But
you hire me.
So I noticed that there was a brace that I had to have for my knee after a surgery, and it was extraordinarily expensive. We were able to find that same device like on Amazon.
Yeah.
Same thing with like a boot.
Yep.
It's been used multiple times. Once by my partner, once by my daughter, and by the way, I actually have $20 for 15. You will survive.
Thank you. This morning was rough.
But so what is the cost of a standard wheelchair?
That's great.
And are there opportunities to do like direct to consumer or something crazy like that?
Okay. How much time do I have? I'll make this quick. So the Group 3 power wheelchairs with all the accessories retail about $25,000 to $40,000. Your ALS patients who need all the bells and whistles can go upwards of $60,000. I have no idea what the allowable is. I'm not a supplier, and legally I'm not supposed to see their ticket price because that would be unethical, because I could be recommending equipment so my supplier gets paid more than they, there's they could be funneling money to me. You don't want to buy your wheelchair off Amazon. Because people are always like, oh, I can buy a scooter off Amazon, or I can buy a scooter. Yeah, you could pay $800. That breaks down, you're responsible for the cost. If you go through a supplier, your insurance will pay. If you have a dual insurance, they're going to pay 100%, and then they are responsible for all upkeep. Insurance requires you to have the device for 5 years. So I cannot be a supplier if I'm making evaluations. I would have to dissolve my business. You can't be both. I work at the medical loan closet in Hendersonville, so for braces and stuff, buy it off Amazon. Don't go through an orthotist. My husband's an orthotist, and he would agree. Those are the things, those low-cost things, or walkers. But when you start talking mobility devices, not the mobility devices you see at Walmart. I do very complex compared to that. The scooters are very different. You want to have a trained therapist so it gets paid by insurance, because we're all paying insurance, right? Most people also don't have $800 sitting around, especially your geriatric population. So yes, you can buy it offline, but it's heavy. Carbon fiber versus heavy metal, you're talking 50-pound difference. If you're trying to propel a chair, that weight difference, wear and tear on the shoulders, is huge. So I can get you a much lighter wheelchair with seating that you need. So you don't have skin breakdown, contractures, all those things with prolonged sitting. Because with you, you're just using it for a little while. If I put you in a wheelchair, probably living the rest of your life in a wheelchair. Kind of make sense? So it's kind of a twofold question. I evaluate people, and I'll say it's cheaper to go through Walmart, it's cheaper to buy it retail, and I go to Care Solutions in Hendersonville, and we pick out something and they buy it retail. But those are walkers, canes, bath stuff, not the complex stuff.
All right, let's put our